Hello guys, welcome back. It's Job Code Tuts once again. And in this new tutorial, I'm going to be taking you guys through JavaScript APIs. I got a special request from one of my viewers out there saying he needs help concerning JavaScript API. So we are going to talk about JavaScript API in this video. I'm going to address every point about what web APIs are. And we are going to be taking, for example, the Google Map API in this video. So I'm going to be showing you guys how to get the API key for Google Maps and how to implement that on your web application also. So first of all, what are web APIs? So web APIs are made available in programming languages to allow developers create complex functionality more easily. So instead of you writing a whole bunch of code for creating Google Maps in your web application, we have Google developers have done most of the writing of those code. So what you just need to do is to get the API into your application, then write a little bit of code to get the API to connect to your application and call some functions and make them work for you. So the abstract more complex code away from you. Exactly, this is what I just finished explaining right now. So instead of you writing a lot of code to get the Google Map API to work in your application, you just need to write little bit of JavaScript, then connect your API to your application in order to get all the features you need on your web application. So I'm just going to give you a very basic example using the wall socket example. So if you don't still understand what APIs are, just take for example the electricity you have in your home right now. So you have a wall socket in your home and you're going to take the wall socket to be the API, and the appliance you want to plug into that socket is going to be your web application in this case. So you putting in the appliance into the socket, that's you writing your JavaScript code to connect the API to your web application. So once you plug in the socket, you get electricity to make your appliance to work the way you want it to work. So that's exactly the same way APIs work also. So you just plug in your web application to an API, they write a little bit of JavaScript code to make that work. And these APIs don't only come in through JavaScript actually. So there are other languages for APIs too, not only JavaScript, but today we're just going to be going through the one for JavaScript. So that's just a basic explanation of on how APIs work. I hope you guys understand that. So the next thing is, what can they do for you? So APIs are used in manipulating documents, that your documents which are basically your HTML and CSS. So it helps you to manipulate your documents in different ways and help you to do some complex work instead of you having to write all that code from scratch. So APIs also help you to fetch data from the server. So in case of when you have a server up and running and you need to fetch data from that server, like using your Facebook or Twitter API for example, now you need to fetch your tweets from the Twitter server. So you need the Twitter API to actually do that, to fetch your tweets, your latest tweets from your Twitter API into your web application. So that's one way of making use of APIs to work for you. So the next thing is for complex graphics and animations. So in the situations wherever you want to carry out complex animations that you can't possibly write the code for, but there are APIs that can do that for you. You just have to write the JavaScript code to make those APIs work with your web applications and use the features that it comes with to implement on your web application and do whatever you want to do with them. So this kind of animations includes the canvas animation and WebGL. So those are also different parts of it. So common examples of web API. So we have the Google Map API, which we are going to be addressing in this video. Then we also have the Twitter API and also the Facebook APIs. There are so many APIs out there based on animations, other things. So you just have to go out there and look for yourself the API you want to make use of. And at the end of this video, I'll be showing you guys where you guys can get a lot of APIs from. So I'll be showing you guys where you can get all so many other options for API. Okay, so enough talk and enough slides. Let's jump in and write some code now. So the first thing is I'm going to open up my Google Chrome browser now. Sorry for that. So I'm just going to go down to the Google API page right here. I'm going to move to the overview. So I have to get my network connected. Turn on my network. It's going to take a little bit of time to do that. So just give me a sec here. So it's connecting. Just have to wait a little bit more. So let's try and reload this page now. So it should be up and running now. So we have a network. Sorry guys. So now we're going to take a look at the overview page of the Google Map API. So this is the page. So you want to go to, not this page actually. So let's just jump into the documentations. And that's the page we need to be right now. Okay. This is not the page I'm looking for. The pages of this Google Map can be a little bit confusing at times. Yeah. Okay, so you want to be at this page, the developers.google.com/maps, then documentation, then JavaScript, blah 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 like that. So what you want to do is just to search for JavaScript API and JavaScript Google Map API. So it should bring you up to this page on the Google search. So after doing that, the first thing you want to do is get an API key right here. The page you might land yourself in might be a different page entirely, so you just want to direct yourself to the JavaScript API maps. So that's just what you want to do. Then click on the get API key. So it's really easy to go through the steps here. So the first thing you want to do is to get started. Click on the get started, and since we're making use of Google API Google Maps, so we're just going to click on select maps, then click on continue. They're going to tell you to select a project. So if you don't have a project, you're going to have to create one right here. So your project name can be anything. As you can see, my one is transport services because I made use of it to build a transport service website. So I'm just going to click on that same project just to get the API key. But after creating a new project, if it's your first time, you just create a new project, then you click on next. It should take you to your console area. So now we get the console area. It's still loading up some things. It's telling us to enable the API. So just to click next on that, and it's going to generate an API key for you to make use of. So you just have to wait a little bit for it to generate the API key. So I just want to say something that APIs are very important in development. So there are some things you might not be able to do, and it's totally fine if you can write some type of code like that. So that's why we have APIs. So you have to make use of those tools. There are tools out there as developers that you need to know how to make use of, and making use of API is one of those tools, because it's kind of a lot of stress trying to write everything yourself, especially when you're building project and there's a deadline for that project. So if you can make use of an API to get that job done, use them. You make use of the API, then get the job done. Nobody cares how you get it done. Just write clean code and get your API and make use of them. So I'm not going to copy the API key, there's this copy right here. Just going to click on that, then click on done, and that should be all. You're just going to bring it to your console area. You don't need that area for now. So what we are going to do now is to jump back into our text editor, which in my case is Visual Studio Code. You can make use of anything, it doesn't really matter. You can make use of Sublime or any text editor you have available on your machine. So the first thing I'm going to do now is to create an index.html file. Okay, then the next thing we're going to do is to create the main.js file. So I'm just going to go into my index.html, then create a little emmet snippet for HTML. So you just want to create the basic tags for us. So you just want to come down here and paste our API key, which we got from the Google website. Then the next thing I want to do is to link my main.js, because I forgot to do that one time, and really frustrating to get the map to work without noticing that I didn't just link my JavaScript. So we're going to link it fast so I don't forget. Then call it main.js. Since they are in the same directory, we close that and we have that linked. So the next thing I want you guys to do now is to go back to the Google page, then go back to the previous page where we were before, which is the developers.google.com right here, this link here. Then you want to go into adding a map with a marker. So now, as you can see, they're going to give you a basic documentation on how to write the JavaScript code, on how to make the map work for you. So you don't need much to begin with. So the first thing you want to do is to grab this div here with an ID of map. So I'm just going to go back to the code editor and create a div with an ID of map up here. So you say div dot okay, that with an ID, not a class, of map. Then tab over, then we have that. But we're not going to be writing anything inside. Most of the code is going to be written in the JavaScript side. So we just make use of this div to display our map on the UI part of things. But the functionality, everything is going to be in JavaScript. So we're going to be manipulating this ID by getting it through JavaScript, and the ID is going to be the ID of map. So the next thing you want to do is to get the script to connect your API to your application, which is down here. This script here, this is what we're going to make use of. And if you move over, if you look at the script carefully, you have this your API key right here. So this is where our API key, which we got from console area, is going to go in to this place. So we're going to input our API key in that part of the script. So I'm just going to copy the script right now, go down to my code editor, then paste that in. I have this script right now and I have my API key. So I'm just going to clear this, copy the API key first of all, Ctrl C, then also Ctrl X to just get everything. Then go down here where you have your API key. Be careful here, you don't want to select anything else than your API key. So you just want to Ctrl V in there and save. So you have your API key connected in your application now. So the next thing you want to take a look at is right here. You have this callback here and it's set to init map. So your API is going to be checking for the init map function to run your script and everything inside of your script. So the first thing we want to do now is to create this init map function inside our main.js. So I'm just going to tab over. I'm going to leave a little bit of space, then I'll create the init, then map, a function like that. So we have our init map function, and if I'm making use of ES6 syntax right here, so if you don't have the knowledge about ES6 syntax, you can check out my previous video on basic JavaScript for beginners. So I made a JavaScript course with ES6 syntax built inside of it, a little bit of it, not all, but it's very important that I touched on functions and other little things like that in ES6 alongside the basics of JavaScript. So I have that video down in the link in the description right there, so click on that, watch that video, then come back over here to get a full understanding of what we're doing here. So let's go on. So after creating the function, you just want to save that, then let's go back to the documentation. I think we have all the basic all set up. So the first thing I want you guys to take note of is inside of the init map function, which is here, this map function right here, they have a location called Hulu or whatever this is. So they have a location set here to a variable, and that variable is being called inside the map here to run the map variable here. So they have the ID of the map from the HTML document, and they have the option like the zoom and the center, which has the location and the zoom level. So the zoom level, it's nothing really serious, so it's just how you want the map to zoom in and zoom out. So at this point you have the zoom level of 4. So the more you increase it, the more it zooms in. If you increase it like this, then maybe you can set the zoom level to whatever you prefer. So I'm just going to go back into our video and let's implement this in our own JavaScript code. So the first thing I'm going to do now is to get my location, and you can get that on Google. Just search for the location you want to place in your map and use that. But I already have my location, so I'm just going to set that in. So my location is Nigeria. I want to set that equals to an object which is going to contain the latitude, lat, like that. Then we're going to have the value in there, which I already got on Google. So it's just 9.082 exactly. Then a comma, then we have the LNG, which is the longitude, which is 8.6753, exactly that. I'm going to save that, then give it a little bit of space. First I want to put a comment up here which says locations. Yeah, then we have the init map function to run the API like that. So now that we have a location, I also want to add one more location so you can get more markers on our map. So I want to add Lagos to that. Set that to the location of the same thing, which is the lat, which is, remember, it's kind of much, so I'm just going to write that 65422. Then LNG, sorry for that, 3.40644, and we have 8. So that's for that. So you have 2 locations in. So I'm going to write this code in a way that you guys can just automatically add more locations in. So the way this code is going to be structured is we're going to have this init function run everything we are going to be doing here. So all our code is going to be contained inside of this function. So just like this map here, for example, to explain what we're going to do, there's a marker here, and when we click on this marker it doesn't do anything, but we want our own map to, we want to be able to click on that marker, then we get an info of the particular location where that marker is pointed to. So that is what we want. Adding that, we're going to be making use of some inbuilt function in the API. So I'm going to be showing you guys how to do that. Then we want to be able to add multiple markers. If you look at this example here, you can only add one marker, which is the new google.maps.marker. Then we have the position, which is Ulu, then the map, which is calling the map variable over there at the top. So that's one way of adding a new marker. But we want to be able to create an add marker function, which is going to run all the process and taking a property, which is going to be an in our case is going to be an object, which is going to contain the location, which is the position of where we want it, the marker to be. Then we want a content inside of it, which is going to have the info. So once we click on it, it's going to pop up a little window of the name of the location we are at. So let's just go in and do that. So inside of here, I'm going to take it down. We're going to have the options. Let's call it map options. So the map option is going to be an object, going to be equals to. So we have up there we have the zoom. If you noticed it in the documentation, we're going to make use of 8, comma, then after that, after the zoom, we have what they call it, the center, like that. And we have, since we already, instead of writing the location straight inside here as an object, we're going to just make use of the variable since we already have it separately, which is Nigeria, like that. So now that we have the map options done, so the next thing is we want to call our map variable, which is going to be connected to the ID in our index.html. So we want to say let's map equals to new google.maps.map. So we are calling in the map from the this capital letter map now from the API. So we want it to get the location and everything. So we're going to put in our own the location on the index.html. So we say document dot element by ID. Then instead of it, we want to call the map ID. Then it's also going to take in the map options which we created, which contains the zoom level and the location, and the map options. Yes. So we're going to save that. Then for now, this should be able to display our map. I'm going to go over here and display on live server. Okay, so right now we don't have anything in here. So I think we need to add a little bit of styling to our map for it to display. It needs to have the height and the width. So we say style, then we need them width of 100%. Then we also need the height of, let's say, 400 pixels. That should be enough. Go back up and reload, and since it's a live reload, it's already reloaded. So now we have our map here with the location of Nigeria. So if we zoom out a little bit, we can see the full map of Nigeria. So I think I'll reduce the zoom level a little bit so we can see the original map without it being zoomed in like that. I'm going to go over and do that. Let's see how what number is going to be comfortable for us. Let's try the 4. So the 4 is still, it's kind of very, very far. Let's try 6. Let's see how that works out. I think this is perfectly okay. So we have the border around and the structure of the Nigerian map. So the next thing we want to do right here now is to go in and create the add marker function, so we can add multiple locations on the Nigerian root location, which is our map there. So what we want to do is to create a variable which is going to add marker. So just call that add new marker, like that. So it's going to be another function which is going to help us add markers. So I remember I told you that we're going to have a props here, right there. Then inside of the props, we're going to have the list of markers, which is going to be the function that is going to allow us create a new marker, which is going to contain the position and our map. So the position is going to be the props, which is going to be the location of every new object which is going to take in as a property. So we're going to have new here, new Google dot maps dot marker, like that. We're going to take in some values. It's going to be the position, which is going to be the props dot location. That's what I want to call mine. You can call it anything you want actually, so it doesn't really matter. You can just call it anything you want right there. So it's just basically you just have to make sure that the location is part of the array of objects which your location is going to be stored inside of. So we want to have a map right from the documentation. Map is also part of it. So we want to call the map variable which we created up here, which is this. So we're just going to call that here. Then we have our position, which is going to be the latitude and the longitude, which is going to be in the props, remember. So after creating the add new marker, we also want to have some info that is going to display our marker. So once we click on the marker, it's going to display a little bit of info about that location. So to do that, we're going to create another function in here, a variable actually is going to have the info window and the on click event, which we are going to make use of. So we say let's info window equals to, then it's going to be the new google dot maps dot info window, like that. So we're going to take in some parameters too. So this one is going to take in the text content, which is going to be text for that location. It's going to be this is going to also be contained inside of that object. So one object is going to hold the location, and is also going to hold the text content, which is going to be passed inside here as a property for us to load up that marker and the content also together. So we want our text content to be equals to props dot, then the look at the text content over there, and let's just call it text content like that. So we're basically going to just have that. Then the next thing we want to do here, still inside of the add marker function, we want to add the event listener, for the click event. So let me just put in the comments here. So we're going to call this the text content, the location, and this one is going to be adding new marker for us. For each location, like that. So now we have all that set up. Then here we're going to create a event listener here, which is going to be marker dot. So we're going to have a marker dot add listener. So there's actually in the documentation there is an open method for this. So it's already in the documentation. So if you check it out, you're going to see more of it there. So we're going to have an anonymous function right here. This is going to take in the info window here. So we're going to have info window dot open. So this is the method. The dot open is the method, which is going to take in the map and the marker itself, and that. So what this is basically going to do is, once the user clicks on each of the marker, it's going to open the info window, which is with the content, the text content is already inside of it. So once it opens that up to check for the map and the marker, then from there print out the content we need to see. So that's all for the add marker function. So this function is going to basically carry out everything. So we're going to add a marker for us and also going to add the info window to each of the marker. So we're still going to loop through this to the area of marker, then call the function for it to work. So that's what we're basically going to do now. So we say let markers, let markers equals to the array of objects. So inside here we're going to have other objects. So the first one I'm going to say location. Remember we made use of location up there, so we have to, it has to be a prop store location, so it has to come and get the location from the object. So we're going to write Nigeria here. The next thing we want is the text content, like that. So inside the text content we're going to have like the h4 here, like that, which is going to say we're going to say country, then Nigeria, like that. So that is one location. So we're going to have another location again. So that's why I said we're going to write this code in a way that is going to allow us add multiple locations at the same time, not just adding one. So we have the text content, which is going to have the under h4 again, and this one is going to say states, like that. So for now we're just going to have these two locations, but in your own application you might want to add a lot of markers, so this is going to help you a lot in adding lots of marker. So after adding your markers, the next thing you want to do is just loop through the markers array to get each of the markers out and call them inside of the add new marker function to make them work. So we want to say for, so we're going to say let I, which is going to be the counter of the array, which is going to help us count the amount of locations or objects inside of the markers. So we want to say let I equals to 0. The next one to do is check for I. So we say when I is less than markers, the markers dot length, which is the array. So you want to check for I less than markers dot length. Then next you want to increment I by 1, so that's the plus plus I. Then we just want to open up that. So inside of it we want to call the add marker, add new marker function. So we want to put in the particular marker after each count, then I inside there. So markers, like that. So you're supposed to help us loop through the array. Then every object inside of here is going to become a property of the add new marker, which is going to go through all this, which is going to be added as a location, then text content. So let's go back to our code and see how this works out. So you just want to reload. Okay, it's already reloaded it. Then it's telling us init map is not a function. Invalid shorthand property initialization. Let's go back to our code and see what's wrong with that. Alright, I think I found my error. So I'm not supposed to have an equals to here, it's supposed to be objects, like that. So I think everything should work out now. So let's go back and check out our map. So our map is working. Let's click on this. Let's see if we get an info window. We don't get that. Said marker is not defined. So let's check our code for that. Saying marker is not defined. So we have markers here instead of marker. So I think that's where the error came from. So let's save and check it out again. See. So now we have two markers. So when we click on it, okay, we didn't put anything in there. Click on this one. We don't get anything. Let's check our code. We're having some errors somewhere. So we have props location here, props text content. So it's not getting the text content out. I have to check that. So it's looping through. So now we have our content shown. I think it's because I made use of text content as the variable name. I think it's a must for it to be called content there. So that's a little bit of mistake. So you guys should take note of that. I think you have to stick to the documentation naming conventions for the API. So we have our country Nigeria here, which we can also close that. Then we come over here, we have Lagos State. So I'm just going to try and make this a little bit bolder because can't really see it from afar. So I'm going to make this tag the H3 tag like that. Come here and make this H3, save that. Let's see if that's better. So click on that and you see they're a little bit much more better. So let's close the console area and look at the full map and see how it looks like. So there you go. So we have our map. So now you guys can add more markers to this map much easily. So we've created the array of objects, which is going to be passed in as a property after it has been looped through. So after it has been looped through, after it has been looped through by the for loop, it's going to be passed into the add marker function, which is then going to be added as each object is going to be taken as a property. Then the location is going to be drawn out of the object. Then the content is also going to be gotten from that particular object and displayed here. So that's how Google Maps work. So that's one of the APIs. There are so many APIs out there, and I encourage you guys to check them out. And if you're having any issues trying to get this Google Map to work, just drop a comment below. I'll be happy to reply to you and make sure you get it right. So that's for that. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you don't like it, you can also dislike the video. And if you like this channel and you want to see more of my content, please subscribe to that and subscribe to this channel. It really helps this channel a lot to know how we are moving forward and to see if people are loving what we are producing. So I want to appreciate you guys for taking your time to watch this video. Thank you very much, and peace.